My name is Archie Dean, and I came to San Miguel in the year 1990, I believe. And the reason I came, I was kind of looking for an alternative lifestyle because I was living in the Northeast. It was pretty cold in the winter and wanted something in warmer climates. I've been living abroad for many years before that in Asia. And since my parents had come to San Miguel in the 1990s, in the 1970s, that I filed it away thinking someday it would be my turn. So the opportunity came in the late 1980s, and I did a little research. There wasn't much out there in the way of guidebooks to find out anything, where to stay and how to get to San Miguel. But over a period of a couple of years, I was able to gather enough information in writing to the Atención, and they gave me names of places to stay. I wrote several of them, and one responded, and that's where I ended up moving to, a Mexican family on Hidalgo. And I came and I flew to Mexico City the first time I'd been in the interior of Mexico, and I took the train from Mexico City to San Miguel. It was a 4-hour ride, included a box lunch, and I arrived in the middle of the day, and knowing nothing about San Miguel, didn't speak a word of Spanish. Fortunately, I had the good fortune of meeting Keith Killer, and he shared a taxi with me and showed me the address on Hidalgo where I was going. And it was all what I was led to believe: small, dusty Mexican town in the central part of the country. It was very small and primitive in those days, provincial, but it was still a good alternative to living in the Northeast in the winter.
How did you come to the point where you started the Insider's Guide?
Well, it's interesting. I had been here, and like any new place, I always keep notes. I always had a pocket full of 3x5 cards that I kept with me when I found a new place to eat or a new place to go. And I had an accumulation of cards for a while until my son joined me down here, and the private school he was going to allowed him to finish his education in San Miguel. And he saw all the cards I was collecting, and I guess he was the moving force who said that maybe I should put that into book form. The other reason was that there wasn't very much information that travelers from North America were looking for when they came to town. There was a tourist office, a state tourist office, but it was very limited. Most of the material was in Spanish, and people wanted to know where to stay and where to eat and where to go. And they're very limited by the young people that worked in that office who had never been to those places before either. So they couldn't really give them good information about the best restaurant in town or the best watering spot. So I went around and gathered all the material, and a few years later, I sat down and put it into book form. That was pre-computers. I wrote it out longhand. I was house sitting in Guadiana, and I had all my material spread out and put a book together. It was about a third of the size of the present size today of information that I had gathered. But I found it very useful. The people scoffed it up in a hurry, and I had a limited print run. I was just doing it for fun, 500 copies, which went very quickly. So I expanded the book and the print run, and I had to move that printing out of San Miguel. They couldn't accommodate anything larger, and I went to Querétaro and had the book printed there. Well, the interesting thing, people do often ask, what do you do in Mexico? I mean, I just can't believe that you'd be there that long. But my typical day getting up is to hit the pavements, get out and walk the streets. And of course, I was actively involved with my guidebook, and I had to make all the updates and find new places and take out old places that had gone out of business. I walked one end of town from the Instituto to Fabrica Aurora and do that. But more importantly for me was that I was actively selling my book. So almost every street corner I would confront somebody, and there would be a signing opportunity or a photo op. But if anybody was out and about, it was me, and I did that every day. And I think one of the biggest changes was that I noticed when I was here, it was the town was so contained in Central, and looking out in all directions, the hilltops were all bare. There was no developments. There were no houses. And that helped when I came, because everybody seemed to know everybody downtown. We all gathered and socialized in El Centro, and the town was not spread out in those days. San Miguel had the reputation then as being an older retirement community, and there were majority of the people fit that category. It wasn't until about 10 years later that the age group changed dramatically in San Miguel, and because single mothers and kids started coming to San Miguel. In my original guidebook in 1995, there was one bilingual school for the kids. And 5, 6 years after that, there were 7 or 8 bilingual schools. So definitely it became a young person's town in the last 10 years. There were obviously some hangouts, so to speak, here in town where you would meet people. You know, the Biblioteca was a focal point of the community in those days, and I think as soon as people came to town, they knew that was a place to go first. But I think most people who lived here really enjoyed the Tuesday market. And the Tuesday market was located in San Rafael, the street San Rafael, where the small church is and Warren Hardy School. That was solid. Every Tuesday they would set up stalls for the Tuesday market, so people in town could walk down and go to the Tuesday market. One of the most interesting places was on Canal called Casa Mexas. That was very popular Tex-Mex type food. Brothers Earl and Mark were the owners, along with their father Bubba and mother Wanda, who made the pies. But excellent food, English-speaking waiters. But the real attraction was in the back. They had a large room with bleacher seats where people could watch the NFL football games. They were very Texas-orientated, so it was, all the cowboy games were there, and they had football pools where people could join in on that. But it just happened to be that was 1991, and that was the beginning of Desert Storm. And people rallied and came in all day to watch the war. The first war was televised into your living room. So that was probably the most popular eating spot because of that attraction of the back room. But primarily, I would say, because of the language limitations, the foreign community stayed together and the Mexicans were separated just because of that. Another activity, interesting enough, Sterling Dickinson was a board member, and I was part of the 24-hour association, and that was made up all of non-Mexicans.
Can you describe what that is, just for the camera?
Yes, the 24-Hour Association was an organization that was started, actually, I guess, by Sterling Dickinson, like most of the organizations in town. And that, in those days, the foreign community needed some liaison if they had the unfortunate experience of dying in San Miguel. And the 24-Hour Association, if you were a member, would take care of your remains and notify the next of kin and the coroner's office and dispose of the body within 24 hours by law. And also they coordinated everything at the cemetery where there's a section for non-Mexicans. And they have burial sites and niches and so forth. People often ask me what's the attraction of San Miguel and why is it different from all the other places I've lived in the past. And the one thing I think separates San Miguel from other places are the people. The people that live here and the people that come to visit. This is very different than any of the beach communities, Puerto Vallarta, Acapulco, and so forth. It's just it's a different breed that comes to San Miguel. And it's very interesting because they come from all parts of Canada and all parts of the United States. They have a variety of backgrounds, and some are true, you know, some of the stories are make-believe, but they come from everywhere. Tino sure will never write off Mexico. It's a wonderful place, and we have a large circle of friends, and fortunately many are still alive, and the weather's good, and food's excellent, and we'll always come back.